Izinto zethu zimoshwe yimvula eninzi, ezinye izinto ilethe iyabhala kule nyanga yonke kaJulayi yaqala uba sekhadi.
We have the CSR project, which is around food security. And we met with Mama Dlamini some years ago. And since then, we've been like a support to the garden. But what that means to us is, firstly, for me as a cook, I get to get fresh produce that is straight from the ground. But more than anything, it's the work that Mama Dlamini has been doing over the years. She has been opening and running gardens, organic farming gardens here in Khayelitsha for 30 years now. And because she provides the space for other small farmers to actually start planting their own vegetables to be able to be sold to restaurants. So the support and the value added to both the restaurant which we run, we get to also inform our guests about there is a place like this that one could have driven past without knowing. And also the garden to know that there is, a business within their own community that supports and actually spread the word about the good work they're doing. Olive oil yakho khona igrile kakhulu, iflavor iba mnandi. And the garden is actually right here in Khayelitsha, just less than 5-minute walking distance from the restaurant. My name is Abigail Mbalo. I'm founder and creative director of Forum de Cassiculture in Khayelitsha. What I love about Cape Town is that it's the whole country in one city. What makes Cape Town food and wine culture so special is you would also notice in different restaurants, like they would have this kind of a European feel, but there's always the touch of South Africa. The culture, you can actually sense it. A person arriving in Cape Town, chances are you won't even see or probably not hear about Khayelitsha. Almost 2 million people living here, so you can just imagine how big it is. There's this Kasi vibe thing going on about if you come to the township, you can feel there's a vibe, music and sense of dressing as well, that I can't explain it in words. You have to feel it. You have to walk on the streets to actually feel that vibe. So it's a township that was actually built just during the transition from the apartheid era into democracy. And people were moved from the Guguletu and Nyanga area to Khayelitsha. At first, there was kind of a resistance where people didn't want to move to Khayelitsha because it was furthest away from the workplaces, which is like a 30 kilometers drive from here. So people didn't want to move. There was some kind of a resistance, and it was this place that people feared. They felt like they're being pushed away. But what's so interesting, over the years, a life started happening in this place. Businesses started being built in Khayelitsha, kids going to school in Khayelitsha, some form of kind of community. And what's lovely about this as well is there's this bold sense of Ubuntu that you can actually sense even with the youth that's coming out here. They've got this pride of I'm from Khayelitsha, I grew up there, I was born there. And with the entrepreneurial spirit that is growing now, it's bringing a lot of people hope that there's so much that can come out of this space that people never wanted to be part of in the beginning. I get the sense sometimes as if it's some kind of a gem that's just waiting to open up. So I created this concept where a person feels like they are at home. So even the name Forumed is based on the forumed homes you find in the oldest townships of South Africa. So there's a kind of a certain decor that used to be set up in most homes, vintage with a bit of retro touch. So when you come to the restaurant, you can actually feel that you've been transported back in the day, 70s, 80s kind of lifestyle. And what you would also enjoy at the restaurant is the surprise twist that we've put on our South African basic staples. I mean, this comes from a passion of like, how can we find a way to actually uplift our own cuisine and put it on a world map? And that has actually brought quite a lot of recognition for the work we've done here and internationally. So we are this restaurant here in Khayelitsha, but we are more than the restaurant. When we define it, it's a lifestyle business concept with a socio-economic impact. So beyond the restaurant, we have these CSR projects that we run in the community, and one of them also being a township and rural tourism development drive, and also is a support to other entrepreneurs, as well as our biggest, which is food security with our local organic gardens. I love my country, and I feel I need to showcase the pride of this country on a plate. And I go back to my stories, what makes me love this country. My mom, our stories at home, she cooked a lot. So what I do, I take mostly on the food that she used to cook for us, and I put my own spin to it. Buyelembo, going back to our roots. Where possible, if we can have 100% of our ingredients organic, supporting small-scale farmers, and the vegetables we pick them from the gardens which are close by. So last year on the Red Bus, I met Lila from Groot Constantia. We immediately clicked. And we were talking about what can these two businesses do together, because she just found out about Forum de Cassiculture, a young business in tourism in the township, and she just heard about what I do with all the food and wanted to find out what can we do, how can these two businesses, the very well established wine estate, being the oldest in South Africa, and how can it work with this young business from the township? What can we do?
One of the most breathtaking views is when you walk up our old Oak Lane and you're faced with this amazing Dutch architecture of our manor house. It stands extremely proud in our historical center of the estates. We offer historical tours through our manor house where you can really go and experience what it was like living in 1685. Through the manor house, you can see the famous Glutie cellar, where the original wines, or the original Constantia wine, came from, our Grand Constance. And it's just the breathtaking views of Volspay Coast and the Table Mountain behind you. You just feel as though you've arrived in this most amazing historical place. Constantia is the oldest wine-producing region in South Africa, with Groot Constantia being the oldest wine-producing farm, dating back to 1685, when Simon van der Stel, who was the governor of the Cape at the time, sent out riders to find the perfect soil to produce wine. They finally settled on Groot Constantia, and we've been successfully producing wine for the last 335 years, uninterruptedly. Groot Constantia produces a variety of wines, from red, white, as well as a natural sweet wine. All of these wines collectively have won over 100 awards in the last 10 years alone. In 2013, our Chardonnay won Best Chardonnay in the World. We recently won Top 100 SA Wines with 9 of our wines in that categories. Groot Constantia produces a world-famous wine called the Grand Constance. It's a direct French translation for Groot Constantia. It is the oldest wine produced in South Africa, and it's been revered by the likes of Napoleon, Louis Philippe, King of the French, as well as Frederick the Great of Prussia, to name a few. It plays an important role in world wine history and as well as South African wine heritage.
I'm going to pair my passion on a plate with Groot Constantia wines. So the dish I'll be making as a first course dish is called umphokoqo. It's one of South Africa's basic staples, usually enjoyed with sour milk. What's so interesting about this dish is like you find it across all cultures of South Africa. It's got so many names to it, but the most common one that is used is called pap and milk. And for this pairing, I actually named this whole dish as a story of corn. So what's so interesting about this dish, being a South African basic staple across all diverse cultures and having all these names to it, is that you don't find it at restaurants. So what I will be doing is cooking an organic blue corn as umphokoqo. So with just boiling water, salt, add the maize corn, slightly, and then you leave this dish to cook on its own. What I've done differently now with my take to it, and moving this dish to meet the 21st century palate, is add lots of coriander towards the end, but still keeping it on low heat, and then a dash of coconut milk. And what I do, adding some citrus segments to the dish enhances the flavor. In addition to that, is that fermenting your own milk, in this case for this pairing, is fermenting the milk with careful grains and with an addition of coconut milk to it. It brings so much freshness to this dish. So now moving over to our second dish, fisherman bakkie. Let me first explain what a bakkie is. It's a pickup truck. So we'll have the fishermen coming in with the fish in the back of their bakkies and with ice. And I remember growing up, we asked as kids to actually go and find out where they are, because they'll be driving up and down the streets. So the only way as the kids will find is like following the trail of the water dripping from the ice where the bakkie is. Quite fun, and like running on bare feet. So that brings my fond memory as a child growing up in Gugulethu, and that's actually where the name Forum also comes from the forumed homes of Gugulethu. That's where I grew up. I have served this with an influence from the Cape Malay heritage, which is a lot of spices. So it goes so well with this lightly smoked fish that I'll be serving, in this case smoked trout. I will be making our own tomato sauce. We'll start with the onions. At the time when I'm frying my onion, it's when I add the curry blended spices. Now with the onion done, I'm gonna do our tomatoes. And for more fragrance, add some tarragon, a dried tarragon or fresh tarragon. And it actually brings up all these beautiful fragrances to the butter sauce. From Khayelitsha to Groot Constantia, a scenic drive along the beach. Pad course is actually food that you take with you on the road. So here in South Africa, which is so interesting, different cultures you find will call it pad course.
The relationship with Forum and Groot Constantia is absolutely beautiful and unique. Forum specializes in contemporary South African cuisine, and I think that paired with a traditional, historical, truly South African product like a Groot Constantia wine, just blends together this amazing experience that you can only find in Cape Town. It's this new age versus this tradition that brings this complete culture of Cape Town to life.
Welcome everyone. This is our first course. It's scrambled pap and milk. It's actually a dish I named Story of Corn. A crumbled pap toasted with lots of coriander, a bit of coconut milk, some citrus segments, and then we serve these with amasi. The amasi are made from milk fermented in kefir and with a blend of coconut milk and gooseberries. So I'm gonna ask you to swirl this a bit, and that's kind of our toast to our first course. And then you're gonna swirl this around into your dish and then scoop it up and enjoy.
We are going to serve with this dish a beautiful Groot Constantia Sauvignon Blanc 2019. The grapes are found in the southeast slopes of our estate. It is a typical Sauvignon Blanc with a beautiful acidity. On the nose, you're going to get a little bit of melon, a little bit of passion fruit, tropical flavors, which is going to suit perfectly with the citrus found in this dish.
Lovely. That sounds I can't wait to begin. Thank you.
Enjoy.
We must get the sun outside.
Absolutely.
So that's where the whole thing started. 4 rooms. You see the driveway area? That's where we sit with our little table, 2-seater. So Sam has been calling it what, a forum restaurant, a new restaurant during lockdown. Beautiful people. Gonna go and get the second dish ready. I am so glad you enjoyed the first course. Let's get the second dish coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, beautiful people, our second course, what I actually named the fisherman's baki. So what we have here, it's actually a seafood dish with a fragrant butter sauce. So the fish is a smoked trout, and I've added our lovely indigenous speckworm for some tartiness to the dish. And as you can see, we have it on our table. You can add some if you want on your plate. Yeah, so this actually goes very well with cornbread that brings in the nice sweetness to this whole curry dish.
It's going to pair beautifully with the Groot Constantia Chardonnay, the 2018. It's got a stunning lemon and toasted almond nose with a little bit of hints of orange blossom on the palate. It's going to be a beautiful creamy aftertaste with a lingering finish to pair with this dish in front of us. Guys, can I top anyone? So you'll get a little bit of hints of vanilla.
Oh, this is lovely.
With the fragrant butter cream of the sauce.
Exquisite. Well done, Abby. Very elegant. Gorgeous. Thank you.
Imagine eating like this 80% of the time.
Just good whole guys.
Good food.
Good food and good wine.
Good wine.
South Africa. Oh, yes. Yes. Thanks, long last. Oh, yeah.